Welcome back to Pop Flashback. I'm Rick Smalls, and with me is Tina Boucher. Today we're looking at how I Love Lucy changed TV comedy forever.
It's easy to just think about the funny moments,
Yeah.
but I Love Lucy's impact goes way beyond that. It literally changed how sitcoms were made.
Okay, so let's go back. Before I Love Lucy even started, Lucille Ball was already pretty famous, right?
Oh, for sure. She had a really popular radio show called My Favorite Husband,
Oh, yeah.
and CBS wanted to make it into a TV show.
So they saw her talent way back then.
Yeah.
Then there's that whole thing about her wanting to work with her real-life husband and CBS pushing back.
Exactly. This was the early 50s.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And CBS was really worried about how audiences would react to a mixed-race couple leading a TV show.
Times were so different back then.
They really were.
But Lucy and Desi, they weren't going to let that stop them.
Nope. Not at all. They took things into their own hands. They made a vaudeville act.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Almost like a sneak peek of what I Love Lucy would be.
Okay.
Lucy was this zany housewife who just had to get on her husband's show, and of course he was the band leader.
I can see it now.
Right.
Yeah. And it was a hit.
Huge hit. It proved that America was totally ready for Lucy and Desi.
Good for them.
Yeah. And basically, it cleared the way for I Love Lucy to start on TV.
And this is what always gets me. I Love Lucy was filmed with a live audience in the studio, which was unheard of back then.
Almost unheard of. I mean, most sitcoms back then used that fake laughter.
Oh, yeah, the canned laughter.
Yeah. But Lucy, she wanted that real energy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she understood how important it was to connect with the audience right then and there, especially for her, you know, because she was so physical in her comedy.
Yeah, there's nothing like hearing real people laughing.
It just makes it so much funnier.
Well, why was it such a big deal? What did having that live audience actually do for the show?
Okay, think about it. The energy you get from a live audience, their reactions, the way they laugh, it's contagious. It adds this whole other layer to the comedy. And especially with how Lucy was so physical, you could just feel the audience feeding off her energy. And it just makes everything funnier.
Like in that famous chocolate factory scene.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're trying so hard to wrap all those chocolates on that conveyor belt.
Exactly. You get it. That scene is the perfect example of how a live audience just makes it funnier.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same without those real reactions, you know, the laughter. It wouldn't be legendary like it is.
Yeah, you just add something else to it. But filming with a live audience had to be a challenge.
Oh, for sure.
I read somewhere that fire regulations were a big problem back then.
Huge problem. You know, back then you couldn't just pack a studio full of people because of those fire rules.
Yeah, so how'd they get around that?
Yeah.
Lucy and Desi weren't known for giving up.
Nope. They really went all out. They actually renovated 2 studios at General Service Studios.
Wow.
Just to meet those fire laws. I mean, that shows how much they wanted that live audience.
Yeah.
They were willing to do whatever it took.
So we've got the live audience, but then there's that 3-camera setup, which I've heard was a big deal.
Huge. It was totally revolutionary. Carl Freund, the cinematographer, came up with it.
Okay.
And this guy had an amazing career. Like, he worked on Metropolis and Dracula.
Wow.
Talk about a legend, right?
So why was using 3 cameras such a big deal? What did it add to I Love Lucy?
This is the really cool part.
Okay.
They had these 3 cameras set up in specific spots so they could film a scene all the way through.
So they didn't have to do it over and over from different angles.
Exactly. And that meant they could film the episodes in order like a play.
Interesting.
Most shows back then were filmed in bits and pieces.
So it's like they were filming a live performance.
Exactly. And it made you feel like you were right there in the studio with them. You know, it was so immediate, really spontaneous.
I can't imagine how hard it was to set all that up back then.
It was a lot of work, but it was all part of their vision. They were pioneers in a lot of ways. They even used a special lighting technique called flat lighting.
Flat lighting? What's that?
It's actually pretty smart.
Okay.
It made sure that the image quality was the same across all 3 cameras.
Okay.
It got rid of shatters and made the whole filming process easier. It really was a game changer.
Yeah, I can see that. So they had the camera set up to capture the whole scene, and the lighting made sure everything looked good from any angle.
Exactly. It made things more efficient, and more importantly, it gave the show this really bright and vibrant look, which was pretty unusual back then.
And all of that, the 3 cameras, the flat lighting,
Right.
it all became the standard for sitcoms. That's crazy.
It is pretty amazing. Love Lucy wasn't just funny. It changed the way television shows were made, and its influence is still around today.
That's wild. We've been talking a lot about the technical side of things, but let's not forget about the comedy itself.
Oh, yeah, of course. And what better way to talk about that than by looking at that famous job switching episode? You know, the chocolate factory one. The chocolate factory.
That scene where Lucy and Ethel are freaking out trying to wrap all the chocolates?
Yeah.
It's pure comedy gold. I can't even imagine how many times they had to film that.
You know what? They actually got it all in one take.
No way.
Yeah. Remember we were talking about that 3-camera setup?
Uh-huh.
That let them film scenes just like a play with the action going on and on.
Right.
And Lucy and Vivian Vance, who played Ethel, they were amazing at physical comedy.
Yeah.
They nailed it on the first try.
That's incredible. No wonder everyone remembers that episode so well. It's like watching this perfectly choreographed train wreck.
Yeah.
But it's more than just what you see, right?
Mhm.
The audience's laughter is a big part of it, too.
Absolutely. It's like their reactions become part of the joke. You
Yeah.
can hear them going crazy as Lucy and Ethel fall further and further behind, stuffing chocolates in their mouths, in their hats, anywhere they can hide them.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of being in on the joke together that makes it so funny.
Like the audience is another character egging them on. I think we've talked a lot about Lucy,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But what about the rest of the cast?
Uh-huh.
Desi, Vivian, William Frawley. They were all so important to why the show was so successful.
They were the dream team. Each one brought something special to the comedy.
Yeah.
And the chemistry between them, you couldn't deny it.
Ethel and Fred, people loved them just as much as Lucy and Ricky.
Oh, yeah, totally. And they were perfect for Lucy's crazy schemes.
Always trying to keep her out of trouble,
Right.
but usually ending up in the mess themselves.
Exactly. And that dynamic, it made the show relatable. Like, these were characters you knew, the well-meaning husband, the loyal best friend, the grumpy neighbor.
Yeah.
It made the show feel grounded, like you were peeking into a real family's life.
And that's something I love Lucy did so well, balancing those over-the-top, crazy situations
Right.
with these really sweet, heartwarming moments.
It's true. At the heart of it, I Love Lucy was about love, family, friendship.
Yeah.
It had this warmth, this realness that people connected with. It wasn't just about the laughs. It was about these human connections.
Speaking of real life, I read that Lucille Ball was pregnant while they were filming the second season.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine trying to hide that on TV back then?
It was unheard of. Back then, pregnancy was this taboo topic.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You didn't talk about it on TV. But Lucy and Desi, they turned it into a storyline.
And the episode where Lucy gives birth,
Yeah,
it happened at the same time as her real-life delivery?
it did. Lucy goes to the hospital. It was a huge event.
Wow.
More people watched that episode than any other TV show up to that point.
Seriously.
Yeah. It even beat President Eisenhower's inauguration the next day.
That's wild.
Hmm.
It shows you just how big the show was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a show, it was part of people's lives.
It really was. And all of it, the innovations, the impact, it all came from Lucy and Desi's vision, their courage to do things differently, their determination to make something special.
Speaking of special, how do you think I Love Lucy still influences TV today?
Well, for one thing, it showed that people wanted something different, something real. It set the example for all those great sitcoms that came after,
Right.
showing that you can be funny and heartwarming at the same time.
And it showed how powerful a strong female lead could be.
Absolutely. Lucy Ricardo was a force of nature. She was funny, ambitious, flawed, and she was herself. She paved the way for so many funny women on TV.
Yeah, she was ahead of her time for sure.
You know, we could talk for hours about how I Love Lucy impacted culture. It challenged what was normal, especially by having a mixed-race couple on TV in the 1950s.
Yeah.
It pushed boundaries and opened doors for more diversity on screen.
That's a good point. And it reminds us that I Love Lucy wasn't just a funny show.
Uh-huh.
It reflected the time it was made,
Yeah.
a time of change and progress.
Right.
And it actually played a part in those changes.
Totally. And it all started with this amazing woman, Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
A true pioneer, a comedic genius, someone who helped change what TV could be.
She was one of a kind.
We haven't really talked about how I Love Lucy, really pushed what was okay to show about women on TV back then.
Oh, yeah, totally. Lucy was always trying to get out of being a housewife
Yeah.
and into show business. It's so funny.
Uh-huh.
But it was kind of revolutionary for that time.
Exactly. It challenged how people thought about gender roles, but it was funny, too.
Yeah.
Lucy wasn't happy just being a housewife.
Right.
She had dreams, you know, she
Right.
wanted things and she went after them, even if it meant looking silly sometimes.
And that must have really connected with a lot of women back then.
Oh, yeah.
Who wanted to break free from what society expected of them.
It did. Lucy became this symbol of, like, you know, women's power. A reminder that women could be funny and ambitious.
Yeah.
And a little mischievous, too.
Yeah. And she wasn't perfect.
Nope.
She messed up, but she always tried again.
That's right. And that's still a powerful message, even now.
Yeah.
It's about not giving up, you know, going after what you want.
And she did it all while wearing that red dress and heels.
She did. And with that amazing laugh,
Yeah.
it could light up a room. She was one of a kind.
She really was.
Huh.
Well, I think we've talked about everything there is to talk about with I Love Lucy. We've looked at how it started, the new things it did, how important it was back then, and how people still love it.
We have. And I think we showed why people still love it so much.
It's amazing to think how one show could change TV so much.
It is. And it all started with Lucille Ball's talent and vision.
What a woman.
A real trailblazer.
I think we did Lucy proud today. Thanks for listening. Remember to like and subscribe so you can get our next episode. Catch you next time.